no one wanted to buy this.
Given the fierce competition that we'd faced in our previously 3 failed attempts at buying a house with some land to create our off-grid homestead dreams here in Ireland, we couldn't quite believe our luck when this place came up.
A cute stone cottage, albeit abandoned and entirely uninhabitable, with stunning lake views and nearly 7 acres of land.
Also close to the sea, and not one other bidder.
So what's the catch? Why did no one else want it?
We're going to take you on a tour of our land today, tell you a little bit about our plans for what we want to establish here, and also let you in on the thing that we realised about this place only after we bought it. The real reason why no one wanted it. And if we sound ill, it's because we are, but we're doing this anyway. Maybe without your tissue.
No nose interjection. When you know what we know about this place, see if you think you'd be crazy enough to start a homestead here too.
If you're new here, we're Corrie and Kayvan, and in 2023 we sold our home, Kayvan quit his job, we pulled our daughter out of school, and we left our lives in the UK behind and hit the road, travelling around Europe full-time in our camper van for 6 months. And it was while we were in Italy that we found this place online, and it looked like it checked all the boxes. Speaking of crazy, the other thing that you should know about us buying this place is that we found it online and put in a bid without ever having been here and had our bid accepted. So we should probably fill them in on that whole thing. Let's roll that part.
We wouldn't have been at the foot of this epic castle. I know that's a word I use a lot, but I don't know, things do seem epic when you're like travelling full time. At the foot of this epic castle when Kayvan's phone rang.
Great, I appreciate it, Nina, and thank you for your efforts so far.
And it was a call we had been hoping for and wishing for, and it was good news about the potential purchase of a property.
Thank you. Bye for now. Bye.
Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god!
Wow.
Tell me.
Sale agreed.
Sale agreed! Oh my god, what an epic setting to find that out. There's a castle behind us. Yes, we did it! Oh my god. Oh. Come here, bring it in. We're doing it, yay!
So what did we buy?
So we bought, what, 6.5 acres?
Yeah.
So if you discount the kind of 3/4 of an acre around the cottage itself, we've got 6 acres of land, not all of it usable or what would be described as productive. So we've got roughly 5 fields, all between 3/4 of an acre and 1 acre each. And we've got a rocky, craggy hill. We've also got a small area of kind of like wild, damp, we call it the
secret garden.
Yeah, which is completely overgrown. It's mostly elm trees in there. So you'll see on our tour, we've fields 1 and 2 fall away from the cottage straight away here. Yeah, so as you'll see on our tour, most of the fields are completely overgrown and wild and difficult to kind of walk through, and certainly not what you'd call productive. So it's going to take a load of work to bring them back into use.
The first thing that you should know about when we bought this place, which kind of set us up for not fully understanding what we were buying, is we stood probably where we are right now. We went down the field we're about to take you into, and that was it. That's all we looked at.
Yeah, we didn't see the top. It was about 2 acres, 3 acres worth, wasn't it?
Well, we couldn't actually access most of the land at all, and so we were like, yeah, good enough.
And it was only 2 weeks after we actually landed, after I bought a strimmer brush clearance, that we were actually able to even walk to and access the top field.
Yeah, like 2 weeks after we'd arrived and started living here, we found out and started to understand, oh, maybe this is why nobody wanted it. So we'll show you. Come on. So this is the first field. And as you come down the driveway, this is on the left and it takes in most of our view. And this is also behind the camera where you might have seen Kayvan's side quest in a previous video. So that's the location of that. Do you want to give a quick update on the cottage? What's been going on with the renovation?
Yeah, so since you saw me with the mini digger and nearly killing myself falling off, I have cleared out most of the big chunks of rubble. There's still the smaller stuff remaining, and I've just been starting to tackle that this weekend, bagging it all up, taking it all out, and revealing the insulation underneath.
That's one of the reasons why we thought we'd do the land tour this week, because a whole video of just Kayvan removing rubble from the cottage, doesn't matter how sick my editing skills are, hard. Struggled to make that super interesting.
Well, I don't know. I enjoy it. I'm sure our viewers would enjoy it.
So we called this the first field.
Yeah, field number 1. Slopes away from the cottage pretty intensely to the point where it would be a challenge to plant anything on it. It was
I don't know if the camera's picking up how steep this is. So if I just take a few steps down, see, I'm like out of shot really quite quickly.
Before we landed, it was the first candidate for actually doing our planting garden on, because it's the nearest to the cottage. After we arrived and we realised the slope, that it would need to be kind of terraced before it would be usable.
So in winter, it doesn't actually get any sun here until about midday. So not that we're planting much in the winter.
Yes, you would. You'd be overwintering loads of veg.
Okay, so if you're overwintering veg, then it's not ideal, is it?
Well, I mean, sunlight in Ireland is already on the lower end of the spectrum. So, you know, particularly winter sunlight, you need every ray that you can get. After we realised that the sun wasn't hitting the majority of the field until beyond midday, 1 o'clock, I had to decide that it wasn't the right candidate for doing our garden on, despite it being the most convenient, being closest to the cottage.
Yeah, we really did want to have our vegetables and fruit and things next to the cottage if possible, but it's just too steep. Not possible.
Yeah, not viable.
So here we are in the second field, or as our daughter calls it, the horse field. And so this field stretches back up to the cottage and where we've got the caravan right now that we're living out of. But before we tell you a little bit more about our plans for this field, something you should know, like we previously said, we'd attempted to buy 3 places here in Ireland before we found this one, and we'd got into bidding wars and obviously been unsuccessful. When we found this one online, you were like, let's not do anything yet.
Well, I was like, this is unobtainium. There's no point even attempting to do anything. And it was only after a few weeks of mulling it over and dreaming and rose-tinted spectacles did I think, well, it's worth a conversation with the agent at least.
Yep. But also we didn't want to come in too keen, like when it just hit the market, because I think that we'd like played our hand a little bit too early with previous properties. True. That way. Unobtainium?
It's unobtainium.
Do people know what that is?
It makes it self-explanatory.
So by the time we phoned the agent, it had been on the market for several weeks. And so we were really surprised that there wasn't anybody else interested.
Yeah, I was more than surprised. I was gobsmacked.
Yeah, because everything else that we'd been looking at had a ton of interest. It was a really fierce competition. Let's talk about our plans for this field.
Well, let's talk about the field itself first. So it runs parallel to the first field we saw. It's roughly similar size. It slopes away slightly less because it starts at a slightly lower height because the driveway drops down below a few feet before it actually starts. So it's not as an intense hill as the first field.
No.
So it could be levelled out with a little bit of work. And it's, as with all of our fields, it's surrounded by a beautiful old dry stone wall.
Somewhere in there.
Yeah, so it's...
Somewhere under this, like, how many feet deep is that of the bramble?
15 feet, 20 feet.
15 foot of bramble there behind us.
It's lovely blackberry bush.
Yeah, we can't wait to see what the blackberries are like here.
So we're going to have some great jam and harvests in summer.
Yeah.
But it's going to have to go. We're going to have to cut it all back to the wall that borders the field. I personally can't wait to expose it. It's going to be beautiful, isn't it?
Yeah, I love all the old stone walls. I think they're lovely. But you're going to notice that's the theme around here. Everything is very overgrown. So while the cottage hadn't been lived in for at least 4 years, I don't think anything's been done with this land for at least a decade.
Yeah.
So everything is just completely overgrown.
So in fact, both entrances, we weren't able to walk into this field when we landed. I had to...
Yeah, we couldn't get into this field at all. So when we came to view the property, when we were buying it, so after we'd had our offer accepted and we just stood at the top there and looked out and went, yeah, good enough. We had no idea like what was in this field. We didn't even know that there was something hidden under the greenery over here.
Seeing that he's in here somewhere, trying to beat a path to this building over here. We don't even know what it is. Just run down here. Didn't get the last bit of clearance. Have you peered inside yet?
No.
Okay, phew. Let's have a look then.
And yeah, so it wasn't until Kayvan bought a bit of a heavy-duty strimmer that we were able to actually hack our way in.
Yeah, so after 20 minutes with the brush cutter, I was able to remove enough bramble for us to actually walk into the field and have a good explore around. I mean, you know, it's a square field, so there's not much to see here. But what we didn't notice at the time was that there's actually another entrance that we've walked in behind us.
Yeah, just down here.
And that was 20 foot of bramble. In winter, I was able to peer through the relatively barren bramble and actually see that there wasn't a wall there, so there was actually an entrance.
So there would have been, we think, a gate there at some point.
So I was able to clear it with a brush cutter, and it's now our main thoroughfare to the rest of the fields, isn't it?
Yeah. So I really want to have a dairy cow. You're on board, but it's not your thing. It's my thing, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the produce, but the process, it's a time-consuming activity, and I don't think I'll be able to commit to it. So
yeah, I was kind of hoping we could do that sooner, but I think realistically, while we're living in the caravan, I can't be processing milk. I think there's going to be a bit of a delay on getting our cow, but we'll have grazing here for the cow. Our daughter is on a campaign to convince us that she should have her own pony or horse. And so if we do that, if we manage to pull that off somehow, that could also share some of this grazing space. But we've said to her that if she wants to have her own horse, then she needs to build the stables. So we'll see. Should we carry on? Mm-hmm. So, what we should explain is this behind us. Just hold the camera like this hill behind us. So we've named this Hillary as a joke, but it's kind of stuck. So we're going to take you up on top of Hillary in just a second, because our land goes up and around behind that. Like this little part of the land, because you've just seen us kind of come through this pathway. We're under lots of trees here. Behind the camera we've got the path up the side of Hillary, and then down behind us here is what we call the secret garden.
Yeah, it's like a wild wilderness, isn't it?
Yeah.
And there's always birdsong and mostly old growth elm tree.
Yeah. And there's loads of honeysuckle, so right now it smells amazing, doesn't it?
It does smell amazing, yeah. Shame we can't smell it properly through our
through our colds that we're suffering with. So our plan for the secret garden down here is actually for that to be part of our rewilding.
Yeah.
So we want to work with the land and be as good of custodians and stewards of the land as we can, but this is going to be working land and a homestead, so we're trying to kind of find the balance there. We don't want to kind of go in and bulldoze everything and flatten everything, even though we've got some really steep slopes that would be more convenient. So we're trying to be sympathetic, and we really wanted to have a significant chunk of the land that we are just completely rewilding, and so that's going to be in this space here, isn't it?
It's not necessarily rewilding, because it's already
wild.
Started
the process.
So I think it's more a case of we want to be conscientious about what we impact and deconstruct and destroy, essentially, to become usable, productive space. So we want to be conscientious about those decisions and not unwild what is already kind of there. And to be fair, like a lot of the land is overtaken by pioneering, and like the gorse and the bramble, and the ferns, because there isn't a lot of competition by other native plants here. Those pests have
gone wild, gone rampant,
taken over. So they have their own beauty in and of themselves,
and they create habitat.
Yeah, absolutely. The gorse is full of birds. It's just spreading uncontrollably at the minute. I don't mind cutting back some of that, but this area behind us, which is full of elm trees, and I mean, it has got a lot of fern and
nettle, tons of nettle. Yep.
Quick shot down there.
Let's go. This is the third field.
And the final one that's kind of easily accessible, isn't it?
Easily-ish, yeah. And again, this one is really overgrown, so we'll put in some shots of behind the camera here. We've got many meters thick of bramble and fern. The grass is like waist height here, like it is everywhere else. This one's a little bit smaller.
Probably about half an acre.
Yeah. we think. Although once we clear everything out, it could be bigger.
Maybe 3/4.
This one is another possibility for some grazing. So we're going to rotationally graze when we have the cow, for example. And so this is another spot that we could possibly have her and her calf. We plan on having all of our own dairy, but also raising our own meat. So we may have couple of cows at any given time, and so this just gives more area to fill that rotational grazing, doesn't it?
So it sides onto Hillary, the rocky crag, and it's got the old dry stone walls surrounding it again. The side of Hillary, which runs parallel to it, there's a lovely row of sloe blackthorn and hawthorn, whitethorn trees.
Yeah, so we're looking forward to making some sloe gin, aren't we?
Yeah. That edge of it is 15-foot cliff up to the 4th field, which we'll be walking up to shortly.
So, change of plan. Our access to the secret garden has completely overgrown.
In winter and autumn, we had access down here. We were able to walk down here, but no longer. Oh, this is one of the few ash trees that's actually in this little forest, because most of them are elm. It's kind of overgrown. It's secret because you can't get access to it.
It's super secret now, so you can't see inside. So up behind us here is the path up the side of Hillary. Come up with us and you'll see just how steep it is. We probably wouldn't bring you up with the camera in the winter because this is actually a stream and really muddy. So this is something we're going to have to address because it's quite treacherous underfoot any time other than, right now when it's dry-ish. Come on up with us and you can see the rest of our land. I'll pick you up.
You got them then.
Here it comes, shopping bag and a machete.
How I roll.
Got a beautiful view of the lake from up here, so it's worth the climb. But we think the climb is one of the reasons why no one else wanted to touch this place. So I don't know if you're starting to get a bit of a feel for the land, but we basically bought a valley. So it slopes really steeply down from the cottage and then really steep up here. And so there's absolutely no access to the fields we're about to show you. We've got quite a bit of acreage up here and absolutely no prospect of getting a vehicle up here. Maybe you could get a quad bike up here. It's pretty narrow. It'd be quite treacherous, and in winter it'd be kind of scary.
Yeah.
But I think you couldn't really bring cows or horses or
and supplies and materials.
Supplies, yeah. So you've had an absolute nightmare.
Well, I've had to do it all by hand.
Bringing anything up here.
Yeah.
But this is our flattest and most usable land up here. So we think this is one of the reasons, because we noticed that there is such fierce competition for something with land specifically here.
Yeah.
There's quite a high value, I think, both monetarily but also sentimentally on land.
A lot of the land is worked. A lot of it is agricultural land with existing farmers, and they're always in a position to expand their enterprise with an additional few acres that comes up on their existing borders. We're fortunate that the land is marginal. And at best, the one or two farmers that do border us they're one of the few that aren't looking to expand that enterprise, particularly onto marginal land.
So no one else was stupid enough to buy this for any kind of farming endeavour. How those flies coming on.
Love it.
We're on the top of what we call Hillary right now.
The craggy rock, yeah.
Yeah, so the craggy rock. So the field kind of extends up onto the top of her, and so from up there we can look back down over the cottage and the rest of the land, and then this way is access to the rest of our fields.
And just to reiterate, we weren't able to see or access any of this when we bought it.
No.
So the entire steep path up that we've just walked up just now, I had to spend a day clearing that with a brush cutter because it was up to head height with gorse and bramble and fern.
So we had no idea what we bought, but we had no idea how steep it was.
No. Yeah, it was complete.
Or how inaccessible this part of the property.
And even when you see the the relief of the land, like the elevation of the land, like on paper, the numbers, you see 40 metres and then 10 metres. Oh wow, it's only 30 metres, which on paper is nothing, but actually in person.
But when it's in such
it's like a 2-storey house, it's 3-storey house, 4-storey house.
Yeah. The flies are so intense. There's one on the screen. So yeah, so we're stood on the top of Hillary right now, and so the cottage is behind these trees here, and the caravan is just tucked down there as well. I'm not sure that we'll be able to use this for anything particular, but it's quite nice just to have this space, I think, for like picnics in summer and things like that. I quite often come up here and just sit.
Well, it's the highest point.
Yes.
And it's quite exposed up here. Like, we'll get the brute force of any Atlantic winds and rain hitting this bit here specifically. And in fact, you can you can't see it on camera, but there's a few hawthorn trees which have grown in the shape of the prevailing wind.
Yes, they like lean right over. This is one of the things that I like in the morning when I come up here. So the field just adjacent to this piece here is our farmer neighbour and friend. He owns it, and so sometimes he has his cows in there, sometimes his sheep are in there, and occasionally one of the cows will come over this fence, a cow that we call Panda. What are you doing? Yoo-hoo. And she'll just be in this field, and I'll say hello to her in the morning, which is quite sweet. I kind of like seeing who's in the field as we come up in the morning.
It is quite sweet until she charges you.
Yes.
And then
she didn't
it's
like
never the same
K-Man. I've lost count. How many fields?
This is 4th.
This is the 4th main field, and this is actually where most of the activity of our homestead is going to take place.
Well,
the hens.
yeah,
And
but
then
the
we've
cows
got
and the
stuff.
orchard and the pigs, and so
No,
it's
I
not.
mean up here and over there.
This is going to be one of the main productive fields for sure. This is where the majority of the veg growing will be. Again, we've got like roughly 3/4 of an acre at the minute, maybe once an acre once I've cleared some of the boundaries. I'm surrounded by dry stone walls on one side anyway.
And right now we've got the hens up here that we're kind of moving them through the pasture to kind of fertilise and, what's the word?
Till.
The grass, because most of this up here we're going to put to like a market garden. That's Matthew making his presence known.
Market garden where we're the only customer.
Yeah, yes, not for sale, but just where we're going to grow most of our produce. We have some beds already set up, but we're going to do another video soon showing you everything that we've done so far to set up the homestead side of things. But for now, that's what's going on up here. And then I don't know if we're going to get to it. So we're going to take you to the last fields. Is it 2?
No, 1.
1? It feels like 2.
It's the biggest field.
It's the biggest field. And so this one and that one are our flattest land as well. So the most workable, really.
4 and 5.
If only we could get equipment, materials, and maybe a vehicle up here.
Go buzz somewhere else. Go buzz somewhere else, Pete.
Oh, what's that?
Oh,
Is that a heron?
duck.
It's not a duck, is it?
It's huge.
It's massive.
Big duck. One accompanying mallard.
Big honking duck, one accompanying mallard. So we've had real problems with ticks here. We've had so many tick bites. I've even had one in a rather unmentionable place. So I'm putting on extra layers right now because we're going to go into probably the most overgrown part of our land, and K-Man just spilt peppermint tea on my hood. Can you see it?
Yeah, only just though.
So, cheers for that.
Pleasure.
So I'm kind of soggy. Okay, let's go. We've beaten a path to the top field here. This one's the most overgrown, and it's the one we've been using the least so far because it's the furthest away from the property.
Yeah, so 5th and final. So
This one's kind of the most exciting field, I think, in terms of our plans for it. Do you agree? Yeah.
It's also the one that's kind of most overgrown, but the one that I want to be most conscientious about tearing apart, because it's got this like in the right smack bang in the middle of the field. There's a big old growth of blackthorn sloes. It's a really cool kind of habitat for loads of wildlife. It's reasonably flat, but obviously being the furthest away, it's the least accessible. So we haven't touched it yet. We haven't really spent much time here. We've gone for some wanders and walks through here.
Yeah, that's about it.
But yeah, the plan is I would like to plant an orchard up here, apple orchard, so that I want to have a go at making some cider at some point in the future.
I think we're going to have pigs up here too.
Yeah, between the rows of the trees, I think it would be a good space to have the pigs.
And we might bring the hens round here at the same time as well, because they can rotationally graze throughout.
Yeah, so I think it would be an interesting experiment. We've never grown apples before.
We've never done anything
No,
homesteadery
that's true.
before.
Yeah.
We're newbies to all of this.
Yeah. So I'd like to start a kind of like permaculture type arrangement where, you know, we've got some fruiting trees amongst some nitrogen fixing trees and some fruit and berry bushes. An exciting prospect. Lots of potential.
And from the top over there, we can even glimpse the sea, can't we?
Yeah.
Which is quite cool. Before we get eaten alive by flies, in our next coming videos, we're going to be showing you everything that we've already established on the homestead. We're going to be bringing you along with us as we continue the renovation. Hopefully, we'll have some progress on the side quest, although we're waiting on somebody for that. So lots happening, lots going on. And also, can we just say hello and thank you for being here? We could not have anticipated quite the amount of new subscribers and watchers and commenters that we've been enjoying. It was just 2 videos in. So that's been really lovely and quite a nice surprise for us, hasn't it?
Yeah, really cool. Thanks for following along.
Yeah, so we're excited that you're here.
So join us next time for more bumblefuckery and tomfoolery.
Say that. Bumble.
And hopefully we'll have some progress on the cottage to show you.
Hopefully we haven't been eaten alive by ticks and flies. And we'll have got over our colds. See you then. We can't actually get back that way. Oh, what's my...
Acute, albeit uninhabited. Blow nose?
Do we need to?
I don't know, do you need to?
I don't know. No.
And it's one of the few occasions that I'm actually lucid. Really.
Lucid.
Go away, Bee. Don't turn your back on a moody cow.
Yeah.